to the poor. It's going to be used for anything. Supplies, shelter, things we need. But this is a waste. Where did you get this money, Mary?
Leave her alone. She has done a beautiful thing to me. For you will always have the poor with you. And whenever you want, you can do good for them. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for burial.
Burial?
What does that mean?
Shh, let him finish.
And believe me,
Now we're on.
wherever the gospel is proclaimed
All right.
in the whole world,
I guess
what she
today
has
we're
done
talking
will be
about
told
our
in memory of
spring
her.
trip to
What your
Point
followers said
Camp
is right.
in
This
Missouri.
act was wasteful, immodest, and completely contradicts everything you said before about the poor and lowly.
He said, they will always be with us.
The very notion that such a disgrace could be proclaimed throughout the world as part of your gospel, when instead it should be reproached, rebuked, and condemned. I can't be in the same room with this abomination.
Sounds like a personal problem.
I wanted to believe.
Right when we got to Heights Point.
I came here to give you a chance and you've ruined it.
So we had groups from the University of Nebraska.
I'm sorry I couldn't help you.
From Iowa State, all get together.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help you.
So we left at like 9 a.m. Saturday.
Rabbi, that is not the man we want to upset if we're trying to unite our people.
From their campus ministry there. Headed down.
For burial?
Point, where we met up with all the other groups. So this is just us doing introductions, getting to know everyone.
You are a false prophet. Whoa, that is quite a thing to say. Jesus, maybe we should leave.
Lazarus, you're his friend. You cannot be involved. You know what the law of Moses says.
We are all his friends, Aaron. We cannot say things like this.
Jesus, stand up at once.
Rabbi, please. Rafi, come with Jesus and me. We will leave, and you can all continue the service.
Rabbi Benjamin has asserted false prophecy, and I cannot argue.
You said you saw the miracle.
He's saying only he can save
He
us.
did not use those words.
It's what I meant.
Jesus, you're not helping.
He's saying we are not the holy ones chosen.
Now, he did not say that.
In words, a book of Moses. But a prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, that same prophet shall die.
Rabbi Benjamin, I beg of you.
Interact well.
There's our van that we rode in. And the Nebraska group back there too. Let's see. Oh, so there's the little gazebo. That's Pastor Mike from Nebraska, Victor, who is one of the students from Nebraska, and then Pastor Mike's son Josiah, just hanging out. That little gazebo, there's a set of stairs that leads down to the shore, so we spent a lot of time in that area, kind of along the side of the edge of the lake, just hanging out. The little kids really enjoyed throwing rocks at the lake, so we got to kind of share some time together doing that.
Was this at Lake of the Ozarks or where?
Yeah, so it's like right next to the Lake of the Ozarks. There you go. Yeah, so that's like the whole lake system, and we're up in that top corner there.
So like an hour west of Osage Beach-ish, if that makes sense to you. Okay.
An hour from there.
An hour west of Osage Beach.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it was right on the lakes, one section of the lake. There was a lot of boats that would come by while we were there, people fishing and doing different things like that. So, yeah. Oh, yes, fire pit. Here, somebody else talk.
Can you tell us, before you get into more of the details, really what the purpose of your trip was?
So there were a couple of, I would say, goals for that. One of them was just to be somewhat like a retreat for us to study more of God's Word, get with other campus ministries and interact with them in that way, because we don't really get the opportunity to do that very often, but also to have the opportunity to serve at Height's Point. We help them out with some crafts and stuff, painting, cleanup, yard work, and also later we went to, which we'll get into, we went to Zoe's Homes, which is a women's facility for, I'm blanking. Pregnancy shelter, yes, thank you. I don't know why I blanked there. And we helped them paint and do a little bit of yard work there as well. And so one of the benefits of being at a camp is they have lots of fire pits. So we spent a lot of time around the fire and talking about various things. And a lot of that was, we did a devotion there for the last night and ate a lot of our food around the fire, very community-focused kind of space to really get to know each other better in that zone. And everyone really had fun with the fire, especially the kids. So, and then this was our night one devotion. We did a series provided by Pastor Mike from Nebraska on the spaces that people would gather. So on night one, we went to it's kind of hard to tell because it's dark, but this is an outdoor chapel that they have. There's stained glass in the back with the cross, and it faces towards there's like two creeks that go through the park, and it faces towards where those start to meet the Lake of the Ozarks itself. So it's a really pretty outdoor chapel there, and we discussed along the lines of the places of worship that people gathered to, specifically while Jesus was around, and talked about some of the tension and conflicts that happened in those spaces, but also the importance of like the tradition and the aesthetic of the spaces we worship in and what that means and how that is important to all of us and was important to Christ and was important to how he taught people and where he found people to talk to. And there's it during the daytime, so you can tell a little bit better what it actually looks like there. Very nice outdoor chapel.
Is this place kind of, you're all familiar with Camp Okoboji, is this kind of familiar in a way to Camp Okoboji? Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Summer programs all summer, and
yeah, they're part of the same campus or camp outdoor ministry association. So, yeah, the camp director would tell us. The camp director at Heights Point grew up going to Okoboji every summer. So a lot of her experiences as a camp person came from visiting Camp Okoboji. So that was kind of cool to hear about. There's the lake. You can kind of see the water was a little low, but I think that's the whole, is that the whole group? I think so, yeah. So that's everybody that was with us along the lake side. On the left, you've got the two students from Drake. Justin's sister Dara was with us, and then Erica, and then three of our Iowa State students in the middle, and then Pastor Mike and his son, and then the other two Nebraska students, PD up in the back, and then Pastor Wendorf from Drake and his kids next to me. So that was our group that we hung out with for the weekend. Yeah, I think so. Pastor Wendorf's wife was with us too, so she's the one who took the picture. All right. I guess we can get into work if you want to talk about proof.
Yeah, even though I'm the only Iowa State student in that picture, but no, so we got there on Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon was the first day that we had any service. And actually, like Sunday morning, we got to go to church at the congregation where Pastor Wendorf previously served, like I think 2 years ago or something, and and they like currently have a vacancy, so he like came back and got to preach there that Sunday, and they welcomed us with a potluck and things, and that was cool. Met some people who like new people that I know. LCMS is a small world, so yeah. So we had potluck Sunday morning, and then in the afternoon we did service. And this was from Sunday afternoon, right? Or was this from Monday? Sunday. Okay. So Sunday afternoon, we all split up into different tasks. I was in a group that picked up trash along a road that goes through the camp near the director's house. There was also a lot of painting. I think you guys were involved with moving things, right? And like organizing. So there was a lot of different things that we helped out with that afternoon.
So this was, a lot of what we did was just moving couches, moving tables, getting things positioned around camp. They had recently, I don't remember if it was purchased or donated, but there was Donated, okay. So there was a house kind of on the edge of the camp that was given to them, and they were told, everything in it you guys can have, figure out what to do with it. And I believe they got to hold on to the house as well and use it. But that we had to kind of help them go through and move the stuff that was in it to other places around camp. So they had a big trailer that we used to load stuff up, move it across camp, get different tables and couches, and I don't remember what else we moved, but it was a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, beds, different things like that. Hauling them around, maneuvering them around tight places and things like that. So that's pretty much what we did that afternoon. We got to work with the middle school from the school, one of the schools nearby, I believe, was helping out as well for, they had a servant event that weekend, and so we kind of pitched in to kind of work with them. So a lot of us got to work with different middle schoolers who were helping serve as well, from different places, from that kind of that area, doing all the different tasks. So there's everybody who served that day. I don't see the camp director. Oh no, the camp directors are in the picture, and then I forget what everyone else's titles were. But then the middle schoolers, you can see the younger kids there, and the parents and people who were along with them helping out. So.
And ice cream, yeah.
Oh yeah, and ice cream. That was our gift for helping. Was that the day we played games with the middle schoolers afterwards? Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So after our hard day of work that afternoon, the camp people decided we should play a game. So we played a game called Eagle's Nest. If any of you are familiar, it's similar to Capture the Flag. But it was really fun because we had everyone from the age of 4 to 22-ish playing, or probably older than that, I guess, because the activities director was playing too. So we had a very wide age gap of people participating, and so that was really fun because we had little 4-year-old Josiah who kept trying to go help out, but kept getting tagged and couldn't figure out why, and it was a good time to hang out and play games with the middle schoolers, even though we didn't know them, and get to know each other a little better. So, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I guess that night we did our devotion by the gazebo that you saw earlier. There was a little area by the stairs that we met that night for our devotion. And so we could kind of see the shore. And so we met that night. We kind of talked about water, the places that water is seen throughout the Bible.
Specifically, it was on the topic of sticking with where people gather. So we talked about times where people gathered on the water, And also, as an extension of that, just generally scenes where Jesus was on the water. I believe one of the readings was when he called the fishermen, the disciples. So discussing the importance of that and how that is relevant, especially with like baptism and other parts like that. So, and then moving into Monday, we started like we normally do with our just breakfast and stuff, and we moved on from there. We helped them this time. We did, I think we all were painting. What did we do before that? What am I forgetting? Oh, right, we did Matins on Monday morning. You're right, I forgot about that. We went back to the outdoor chapel, and Pastor Wendorf led us in Matins. So we got to do some fun times singing a cappella. Went pretty well. It was fun. And then after that, we got to start working on painting some of the decks that they had for their cabins and other shelters. So me and Cole started at Journeyman, which is what that building is, and we were staining their deck because, well, it's outside, so it got damaged somewhat and needed recoating. And some of the other groups worked on, I believe it was cabin 1, and I think they worked on cabin 2 as well, but I'm not sure if any of us were there for that.
So along with staining, some of those window frames that you can kind of see, those wooden frames, the paint was really old. Like, I was talking to the camp director, and she said that she didn't think they'd been repainted and since they got built. So we got to paint those again, make it look really nice. Some of the boards along the corners on some of the cabins that face the lake, where there's a lot of the water gets like blown up against it, and it kind of wears down really fast. So a couple of us got to work on that as well, along with the deck staining. Any of these people that you might not recognize in some of these pictures are probably high schoolers, because this day the high schoolers came out and helped us. So they have a what they call like a micro high school that's run out there, and one of their activities was coming out and serving at camp and working that day. So basically their school for Monday was coming out to camp and helping fix things up and working out there, since their school schedule is a little different, where they only have class Tuesday through Thursday, but they get to do other activities along with that. So we got to meet with the high schoolers, meet them, talk to them while we worked a lot. After we finished up all of our deck staining and painting for the morning, we got to eat lunch with them. So part of our lunch time was sharing with the high schoolers about our college faith experiences, sharing with them, providing, they had a few questions for us, just like how to stay connected to the church and to each other, and stay in the Word during your time in college, because it is a big change. So they wanted to provide that connection as well for the high schoolers. So that was kind of interesting to at least get to share with and reflect on ourselves and hear from each other. So, yeah.
Are those actually the cabins where the youth stay?
Some of them. So each of those cabins has like bunk rooms in them, and then some of them have like kitchens as well. So yeah, the one that we stayed in was not any of these that we worked on. Pastor Wendorf's family stayed in that cabin. You can see them working on. And then we had the cabin next to it as well, because that's where our kitchen was. So we did some food prep there, and I think maybe made breakfast one day or one night, did some, I don't know if you want to add to that.
And I remember the camp director saying too that in the last couple of years, like the camp has done a lot of just like cabin rentals to people and things, and which is great, but like a big goal of hers, because she and her husband had only been there 2 years maybe at the camp, was to focus a lot more on like ministry still and things like that for the youth. So they it sounds like they do both. Like they have camps, but then you can people can also just come and rent those cabins, because a lot of them have like a kitchen and lots of beds and everything. So yeah, they were nice.
Oh, yeah. So after lunch that day, this is what was his title? Activities director for the camp, and over on the right. And he got to lead us through all of their team building exercises. Is that what they were? Yeah. So lots of different activities that we got to do. This one was just a long balance beam that changed directions a few times, but the person walking had to have their eyes closed. So it was our group's job to guide them without touching them across the entire structure without falling off. So that was very tricky, but I think we eventually kind of figured out kind of how it worked. So, yeah. Yep. So we a lot of different people tried that, and there's Emma going. There's Pastor Dave. Yep. So everyone got involved. What activity was this?
That's the best home one?
Oh, I think so. So we had one activity that was the activities director gave us his phone, and we had to move it from one point to another point without moving with the phone in our hand. But we also had to have four hands on the phone at every given time. So you couldn't move with it, and two people had to be touching it. So you had to figure out how to pass it the whole way between points without dropping it, without taking two of your hands off. We had to redo that one a lot. That one, for whatever reason, our group was very bad at that one. Was this the two people? Yeah. So this one was a larger balance beam, and you had one person on each end, and you had to figure out how to get to the other end without getting off of the balance beam. So both people had to get around each other. So there were some different strategies that were tried, many of which were not successful, but it was fun. I think there's a lot of problem-solving skills that were used for that one, but yeah, a lot of fun team building that happened that afternoon.
That one was successful, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the phone one. Do you want to talk about this one?
This one is like a kind of a teeter-totter, but it's just a big, like a wide rectangular board, and our whole group had to get on it and balance it. And that was the first task, and then after that there were rules on where people could be. So I think it got to a point where, did we have to have everybody almost on one side, or there were certain boards we couldn't stand on and things like that, and it was really hard because if you have just one person to shift their weight, that can be enough to tilt the board. And then we had to keep it balanced long enough, or keep it in the air, not hitting the ground, to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I've also done, thankfully we actually succeeded. I've done this with the middle school, high school group before, and they had to sing Jesus Loved Me, and the camp director gave up on them. So it was really nice to actually achieve it. Oh, I can talk about this one too if you want. So this one, you can't see super well, but from this like upright beam, there's 2 wires that we're standing on that go out in a V and are attached somehow to like that backboard. And you put one person on each wire, and you just had to see how far you could get along the wires, basically, which meant you had to like literally lean on each other. All of these after every activity we did, the activities director was like, "Okay, guys, what did you learn from this? Like, what made this hard? What made it easier?" And for the most part, it was like, you know, we're actually just communicating well with each other and working together, trusting each other, especially with this one, because you could make it the furthest if you like fully stretched out and leaned against each other and not just like stand like this. So that did take some trust. You can talk about that.
Yeah. So we're back on the lake here, and right after that activity, I, as a resident architecture student, decided that it was going to be a great time to go hang out at the lake and make rock towers. So I was balancing rocks for like, I don't know, 2.5 hours. It was great. I enjoyed myself. It was really fun. But along with that, everyone else just took this time right after the team building activities to hang out on the shore, because this was by far the nicest day of the entire trip. So it was not freezing, except for the water. The water was still cold. But so we had fun times, and you know, Pastor Dave made the connection kind of that that I was making an Ebenezer, because if you don't know, that's what that means, to raise an Ebenezer. And so I ended up making 12 towers that I could say it was a reference to the Bible, because I raised 12 towers on the Jordan. So, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. While Justin was constructing his rock towers, his Ebenezers, Victor, one of the students from Nebraska, who's also in their Beta Sig chapter, so that was kind of interesting to hear about. Him and I went with Josiah, the 4-year-old son of Pastor Mike, and we built a stick teepee out in the woods at that same time. So that was another just fun kind of bonding activity. It was really neat because this past Sunday, Pastor Mike and his family were here in Ames because his family's here, and he told me that we were sitting up in church, and Josiah leans over to his mom and says, "Hey, Mom, that's Cole up there from the trip. That's Cole." And I was like, I felt really cool because he remembered me. So, yeah, that was really, really neat. But, yeah. Somebody else want to talk about that?
Sure. So this is where we went to, sorry, my bad. This is where we went to Zoe's Homes, the pregnancy shelter. I think they have a couple of houses. Well, they do have a couple of houses. I think they have like 3. They have 5. Okay. And they used to be associated with, what was it? Was it the hospital, or what was that?
It was the hospital or some clinic nearby.
Yeah, they were originally associated with a clinic that was helping fund them, so that they could take in various single mothers. A lot of them have dealt with substance abuse, or just other problems in general, but that was the big one. So helping them get off the ground, get jobs, be able to raise their kids, in a lot of cases have kids, and it's a real struggle for them sometimes. They told us a lot of the stories about that and some of the more difficult people they've had, some of which they haven't been able to take in either because they're not equipped to deal with people who are really deep in substance abuse. So we went there, and they told us a lot about their program there, because what happened with the clinic they were associated with is that they eventually got dropped by that clinic because the clinic basically said, this doesn't align with our goals anymore, so we're not going to have this be a part of the program anymore. So they ended up partnering in part with the church one of the churches in the area to help continue the program. And they also have, we don't have full details on this, but they have a donor that is donating them these houses. They purchase the property and then donate it to the shelter. So we got to hear a lot about that and their ministry and their work there. And then we got to take the time to reorganize their shed, which is what's going on in that picture. Do a little bit of yard work, picking up, I think mostly it was sticks, but it could have been rocks too, so that they could mow the lawn. And Pastor Dave was cleaning out gutters, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure because I was inside the house. Pastor Dave saying I'm correct. I can make good inferences, yay. And then this was the party inside the house as we tried to speed run, except doing it correctly, painting their living room and kitchen. We were given express instructions to paint it like it was our own home. So even though we were trying to do it quickly, because we had like 2 hours roughly, I think? Yeah, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, somewhere in that range, to paint both their living room and their kitchen. And it was difficult because the paint color they had was like one shade off of the one they already had. So depending on which way you were looking at it, you could not tell if there was a difference or not. So that was fun. But we unfortunately didn't quite get it all done. We painted, I would say, probably about half to 75%, somewhere in that range of it, but we had to leave, unfortunately. And so there we all are with, do we have, is that one's just us, I think. We do have a picture with some of the women who are staying there, can't English, as well as the person who's running the program primarily right now. So I don't know if we have that picture or not, but.
I don't have that one, sorry.
No. Oh well. They exist, I promise.
Yep. So that's the last picture, so.
Okay. Anyone else have any other thoughts?
This is kind of random, but we experienced like a lot of different weather there. Like on Monday, like we said, it was really nice, so everyone could wear like a t-shirt and shorts. But Sunday morning it snowed, and there was like ice on the ramp outside the cabin, and a few people slipped on it. So then by the time we got back from church, pretty much all the snow had melted and stuff. So yeah, it sprinkled a little bit one night. Yeah, that's a Sunday morning. So it was nice to experience all of the Midwest spring weather types.
I guess we didn't mention much our devotion the last night, but our last night's devotion was around the campfire, and we kind of, again, talked about people meeting around places, and what else did we talk about that night?
So just because it's relevant to the season, we were talking, again, kind of about people gathering around the fire. The Bible, we didn't have any specific Bible readings this night because we were all kind of tired and kind of being ready to head home at this point. So what Pastor Mike did is asked us just any times we remembered people being around the fire. And because it's relevant to the season as well, the two that we ended up coming up with were the time where Peter denies Jesus because he's in the inner courtyard by the fire there warming his hands. And then the flip side of that, afterwards, when Peter was out on the water and sees the fire on the shore and finds Jesus on the shore, and Jesus asks him, "Do you love me? Tend to my flock," 3 times. So interesting parallel there that was the 2 things we found, and also really relevant to being in the Lenten season. So.
We also got to kind of share about the different people in our lives that have influenced our faith, which was pretty neat to hear about the different people, whether that be like, parents and teachers and all of the various people that have impacted everyone's lives as a Christian. So that was really neat just to hear about other people's experiences in that way, and kind of another area for us to kind of get to know each other. So yeah, if nobody else has anything to add, thank you all for your support. And if you have any questions, let us know. That's kind of our trip and how it went. So, yeah, thank you.